Good afternoon. There's a little bit of feedback.
I'm not able to video. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Great. Yeah. Any problems? Yeah.
Like this, it looks a little sleepy.
I know.
Yes, I have coffee. Do you want my coffee?
No, test. There we go. Good. Scary. Scary. Good afternoon.
Me too.
Good afternoon. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. My name is Larry Clay, and I'll be chairing today's session. Panel members are Gary McKay, Peter Reed, Yim Chen, and Phil Ghosh. And our Deputy Secretary Treasurer is Sabrina Salatino. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 of the Mississaugas of the Credit. Committee adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid, in-person, and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submission in person, and others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer or telephone and have the option of participating via video or audio. When your item is called, you will be unmuted by the moderator. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons and public bodies are permitted to appeal decisions. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision. Today, I'll call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I'll comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept new materials at the hearing. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address, and remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant will proceed first and make a presentation. Then, individuals either in support or opposed will be invited to speak. Generally, we call first on speakers in the hearing room and then those participating through WebEx. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they've finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant will have an opportunity to rebut those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion, and the application will be taken into committee for a decision. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, there's no files to be closed this afternoon?
Through you, Mr. Chair, see none.
And any declarations of interest this afternoon session? See none. And any deferral requests?
Through you, Mr. Chair, see none.
All right, we then can proceed. We start this afternoon's proceedings off with item number 17. And folks will just have to give me a second to call it up. 17 is 2 FRANKDALE Avenue. This is to obtain consent to sever the property into 2 residential lots. And associated with the consent are 2 applications. One, to construct a new 3-story detached dwelling with an integral garage, a front covered porch and stairs, and a front second and third floor extended roof, and a rear second floor with deck. And the second application, I think, is identical, to construct a new 3-story detached dwelling with an integral garage, a front covered porch with stairs, and a front second and third floor extended roof with a rear second floor stair and decks. Committee has before it copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, part 1 and 2, copy of the draft R plan of survey, covering letter from the agent, covering letter for part 1 from the agent and from part 2 from the agent, an arborist report, presentation materials from the agent. We have email correspondence from community planning and staff reports from engineering and construction services and urban forestry. We have letters, correspondence and concern from 5 FRANKDALE Avenue, 168 Milverton Boulevard, and 162 Milverton. We have correspondence and concern similarly from 170 Milverton and 6 FRANKDALE. We have correspondence in opposition from 164 and 166 Milverton, and 2 form letters in opposition from 158 Milverton and 3 FRANKDALE, and correspondence in opposition from 1A FRANKDALE. Okay.
Through the chair, we have the agent here in person and 6 registered speakers.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir. And your name and address, please. Is your microphone on, red button on?
Now it is.
Do you want to do that again, please?
Yes, certainly. My name is Felix Leicher. I'm a resident at 33 Fernwood Park Avenue, Toronto.
Great. We have a number of people who want to speak to this item, so we'll need a presentation, sir, around 5 minutes.
Certainly. Thank you. So the application in front of you is for the severance of an existing 40-foot wide property into 2 20-foot wide lots and the construction of 2 new 2-story homes, each with an integral garage. The existing lot is fronting on the west side of FRANKDALE Avenue. To the south side is adjacent a private laneway serving a row of garages to the properties at Milverton Boulevard. To the north and to the west side, properties of single-family homes are adjacent. The proposed severance does not require any variances, and similar frontages as the proposed can be found on the street and throughout the neighborhood. The proposed 2 homes are 2-story homes, while the notice says it's 3 stories. The applicant, the examiner suggests that the garage, the integral garage, is the 1st story, and the 2 living stories above are considered the 2nd and 3rd floor. The garage is not below grade, and therefore, assuming that was the intention, naming it a 3-story home. But the zoning bylaw considers it a 2-story home. Each of the homes is a 3-bedroom home in similar size and volume as can be found throughout the neighborhood. Each home is designed with a private driveway leading up from the street to the integral garage. Our application suggests the same 8 variances for each of the new homes. The proposed variances relate to lot coverage, floor space index, side yard setback, as well as building height and main wall height. The proposed variances are individually, as well as in their combination, very similar to approvals given in the past by this committee and are similar to the existing housing stock in the area. I want to go a bit more in detail about the 2 variances regarding the height, as there seemed to be some confusion around the neighborhood. There's one variance that suggests a building height of 8.75 meters. If we could pull up the presentation material on page 3, there's a diagram illustrating this. The 8.75 meters in height are 0.25 meters or 10 inches higher than the permitted, but this only applies to the front part facing FRANKDALE Avenue. It's a small parapet wall, which exceeds the permitted building height. The rest of the building and along the side wall as well as to the back satisfy the requirement of 8.5 meters. The second variance regarding height is for the main wall height, which only reference the front and main wall and the rear main wall according to the bylaw. If you please move forward to page 4, shows a three-dimensional illustration, while the left illustration shows the as-of-right height development. The right one is the proposed. As you can see, the difference between those two are marginal. And even though the delta between the two numbers, between the proposed of 8.75 meters and the permitted of 7 meters, might sound high, as you can see, the difference is not very much. Several of the submissions to the committee from the neighbors assumed that the homes would be 1.75 meters higher than permitted, but this is not the case, as you can see. The total building height is only 10 inches more than the permitted, and that only applies to the front. Furthermore, the proposal satisfies all requirements regarding landscaping and soft landscaping. It will require the removal of one protected tree to the south property line. The remaining trees, which are protected by the city bylaw, will be protected during the construction process and will remain on site. As you mentioned before, transportation services as well as community planning provided their commenting, and they both didn't have any objections to the proposal. Furthermore, ourselves as well as our client was in contact with one of the neighbors to the north, or to the neighbor to the north on 6 FRANKDALE Avenue. They had long discussions and came up with 6 conditions how to address their concerns. Their concerns are mainly related to privacy and overlook issues. And second part, which they're concerned about, is the current parking situation on 6 FRANKDALE Avenue, that would not be negatively impacted by the proposal. We jointly developed a list of conditions which we, on behalf of the neighbor, would suggest to you to implement in case you approve the application. I prepared this. We were not in time to submit it by email as it was just finished yesterday. I can read those conditions to.
I think your time's up for now. We can revisit that when you come back.
Okay.
Okay? Any burning questions, guys? No? Okay.
Could the speaker from 6 FRANKDALE Avenue come up to the podium?
Hi.
Hello.
Good afternoon. If you give your name and address, please, sir.
Yes, my name is Adrian Pasricha. I'm the owner and resident at 6 FRANKDALE Avenue.
All right, sir. You have 5 minutes.
Well, I think I need to wait on my comments because I intended to withdraw my objections today, but they are conditioned on the conditions that Mr. Liker was just referencing. So I'd probably rather wait until those
Okay,
conditions
we'll get
have
to
been
those
considered.
conditions when he comes back, if that's okay.
Well, I don't want to oppose the application though. If I am ultimately.
Well, why don't you take your time? Do you have the conditions that you're
I do,
interested in?
yes.
Why don't you use your time and just share those with the panel?
Certainly, I can do that. So in discussions with Mr. Liker and another representative of the applicant, we had talked about the following becoming conditions in order for me to withdraw my opposition to this project. Firstly, that the northern side of Part 2, that's the northern building, shall be kept clear of any below-grade windows and therefore window wells or similar structures. Second, that the northern side yard setback shall be kept clear of any fencing or similar structures from the front property line to the proposed wall. The northern side yard setback shall be paved from the public sidewalk to the proposed rear main wall. These considerations would be to limit the impact on our current parking situation at 6 FRANKDALE, and ensure safety for both ourselves and the new residents. In addition to those, we've agreed that the rear deck must be constructed with opaque privacy screening or fencing that is permanent along the northern edge of the deck to a minimum height of 1.5 meters, measured from the floor of the deck, and that any north-facing windows on the north frontage of Part 2, the north building, on the second floor above, should be constructed with frosted glazing in order to and deal with any privacy concerns between ourselves and the new residents when they move in. These considerations would allow, would address, I'd say, our two primary concerns with the proposed development. And if they are attached, I don't know, I'm a layperson, I don't know the mechanics, but if they are attached to the approval as conditions of the variances, then we would be prepared to withdraw the remainder of our objections. And at this time, I'd like to reserve any remaining time I have to discuss those objections if these are not ultimately agreed.
Well, we can't let you do that, sir. You get one shot. So I think if you have come to an arrangement with the agent along these lines, he'll reflect that in when he returns. Okay?
Very well. You have then you have the rest of my considerations in my letter, and you can reflect on them and consider them as you see fit.
Great. Thank you very much, sir. Any questions now?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. Perhaps maybe we can just talk about which conditions the committee is in a position to consider rather than those that is out of the hands of committee.
Good point.
Yeah. So saying no windows on the lower level, my concern is about safety and building code. And then no fence or structures. I mean, we can't impose that type of condition for no fencing because we don't know what could happen years to come. And if it's as of right, then the committee's not allowed to impose something that is as of right. The paving from the front to the rear, I mean, you know, maybe it's semi-permeable or permeable materials, but that's something up for consideration. The rear deck screening, yes, committee can impose that condition. And then the frosted windows on the second level, the committee can also impose that condition, okay? Just for the benefit of knowing what the committee has the right to do and not, and what we can't do.
I
Okay.
understand that, sir. We can only do so much. What we can't do is going to be between you and the applicant.
So how does that? So that can't be binding upon the approval.
Only the things that the deputy secretary mentioned that we have jurisdiction over.
Can you comment on do you know what the window limitations are? Because that's pretty significant.
Again, we're not going to do that today, sir. That's something that you and the applicant are going to have to arrange. The only other thing I would say, what Sabrina was talking about, is the paving strip, as long as that doesn't trigger another front yard landscaping variance. Okay?
So what would you recommend I do now? Would I
So I think your time's up. We're going to bring the agent back, and he'll confirm those things, and we'll ask him about the out-of-scope items and whether he agrees to provide those for you.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I don't believe his time is up.
Oh, I thought you had exceeded your time.
no,
sorry.
I only spoke for 2 minutes.
What I might suggest is if you want to talk about the issues with the north windows through you, Mr. Chair, maybe perhaps since we can't impose that condition, he should speak to it, and then we'll just consider.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. Yeah.
So, thanks.
Sorry, I speak to what? I didn't quite catch that.
Well, so you were raising some issue with the north-facing windows. We heard from the Secretary Treasurer we can't impose a condition because it might be a building code issue. So if there is a concern that you wanted to raise about that, you can use the.
Certainly. So
It was the below-grade ones?
as a current plan, the below-grade windows would require, my understanding is that below-grade windows would then be accompanied by window wells, and that would essentially be right on the side of my property, which would create a tripping hazard or a falling hazard. And in addition, we currently park on the paved area between the two houses. And so we would not be able to continue to do that and potentially, risk, again, vehicle bumping into those or something. So the discussion with the applicant's representative, they were amenable to removing those to eliminate any constrictions. Absent the committee's ability to restrict those, then we would ask that you instead impose a condition of installing some kind of covering over those that still allows people to walk over them. I understand there is an ability to put some kind of metal covering or something like that over window wells. So if you're able to consider that, we would consider that as an alternative to the low level windows. And then, with the fencing is similar problem. Like right now, as I submitted in my materials, and you can see from the way the vehicles are parked, if a fence were to be put up on the area there, on the property line, we would not be able to open the door of the car, thereby eliminating the ability to use that parking. I acknowledge that, parking is a luxury in this city, and not everyone has access to it. But this situation has been in effect for over a decade, and it's a normal way we use. And so the applicant is requesting a 60 centimeter setback, whereas the code would require a 90 centimeter setback. Again, that we were willing to accept the 60 centimeter setback if the fencing were eliminated. If the committee's not able to impose that condition upon any approval, difficult for us to, it's challenging for me to see how we could agree to that, because we're effectively, leaving that open. So that, that setback then becomes even more important to us. And then lastly, whether it's, I think the paving, again, is just to allow the same usage to be occurring. In discussions with the seller's agent, the owner's agent, it seems that they really have no purpose for those 60 centimeters, and so repaving it would make sense. But again, we're hesitant to withdraw objections unless those things are binding on the applicant. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any further questions? Okay, we're good. Thank you very much, sir. No, sir. I think we have more speakers.
George, you've been unmuted.
Great, thanks.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Yes, this is George Roeder. I'm at 164 Milverton Boulevard.
All right, sir. You have 5 minutes.
Great. Well, let me not take the entire time because I can synthesize our concerns and objections to this proposal pretty quickly. We are in a property that is on the laneway, which is to the south of the 2 FRANKDALE property. One thing that the applicant mentioned was that it's just a series of garages along that laneway, and that's not the case. We have a backyard there, and this development would come, right against the laneway, pretty close, 60 centimeters instead of the required setback, and be very tall compared to what is there right now. What's there right now is a series of trees. Not all of them are protected. Some are a fence that really separates things, and it has a backyard for us that is, highly enjoyable, and that would change entirely with this development. And I think that the setback that variance that's requested would really kind of reduction would sort of change that dynamic. It would require sort of removal of probably the fence and that separation. And so I think that's one of our objections to the way that this is presently proposed. The second one is a little bit more related to safety and drainage, which is that the laneway that's there is actually 60 centimeters, give or take, lower than the than the property of 2 FRANKDALE. And so what is kind of holding that height difference is, first of all, there's no buildings really up against that line, and so there's nothing that is putting strain on that line. And second is there's a ton of vegetation. There's trees. Not all of them are protected. Many of them aren't. But it kind of holds that area intact, really. And our concern is that you start building now close to that laneway, even closer than what is allowed under the bylaw. All of a sudden, you're going to put strain. There's no reference to reinforcing that. There's no reference to a retaining wall that would make sure that it's safe, that it's going to be maintained properly. And then in addition to that, you're sort of removing fencing and all that vegetation, which is really a privacy screen. So we're concerned really about that fence line that's there and coming up so close to it with the variances that are here. I think those are kind of the major objections. And I think just overall, like, this development is, the proponent really says, it's in character of the neighborhood, but it isn't really. Like, the neighborhood is all semi-detached. The examples that they use in their presentation of other variances, those are all semi-detached houses or multiplexes. They're not detached homes of this nature. And so it really does feel like it kind of compromises, together all of these variances compromise kind of the integrity of the neighborhood. And so let me stop there.
Okay, thank you, sir. Panel, any questions? Okay, thank you very much, sir. Our next speaker.
Chihan, you've been unmuted.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
We can. Your name and address, please, sir.
Yeah, perfect. Chihan Lynn at 168 Milverton, just directly south of 2 Frankdale. Yeah, and I will say I really do echo a lot of what Georgia said. A lot of his concerns are really the same as mine. Yeah, the laneway is not just only garages. I do use my backyard, and being directly facing where 2 Frankdale is going to be, this will have a pretty severe limitation on my view, but also privacy. So that is a big concern of mine, especially with the height of over 8 meters going up wall to wall to a flat roof, as I understood. That's not the same as a curved roof with a building height of 8.75, with the sides being a little shorter. So that will have a large limitation on the viewage. So privacy is a big concern of mine, and then also with drainage as well. This past winter, as we saw lots of snow, that back laneway is private for us. So the city doesn't plow that. We have to shovel that ourselves. With me last winter, I had to shovel it nonstop as our cars keep sinking and getting stuck there. So we do need space for the snow to go, and I do have concerns with the south property being built that close to the line now, exceeding the variance, what that would mean as well with the drainage and our ability to be able to effectively use that laneway when there is water and snow. I believe the application did call for removal of mature trees as well. I believe that would also include the one that's directly behind my property, which is also what provides shade and privacy. So those are really my concerns there. And as well as I do echo that, yes, there are buildings in the neighborhood with similar heights, but as George had mentioned, they are all semis, not detaches. So I'm not going to take any more time, as I think a lot of the points are similar there, but really building height, privacy, and just the use of the laneway and the water drainage are my concerns.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. Panel, any questions? Speaker? No? All right, our next speaker.
Ari, you've been unmuted.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Name and address, please, sir.
Excellent. Ari Baum at 166 Milverton Boulevard. Our property is directly impacted as it adjoins to Frankdale, just south of their property. What I want to bring forth is that we do not see that these variances altogether are minor. They represent what I see as a significant departure from zoning requirements. They're not minor in nature. We use not only our backyard, but also the laneway itself to play with our children, as well as our dog. And the issues with privacy there, as most of the trees, even though they, as has been mentioned, are unprotected, the trees being removed, the fence being removed, and the building now coming right up to the property line would have considerable impact. In addition, I want to echo what Chihan has just mentioned. There's a lot of shoveling. We have to do it all ourselves. And if we place it right against the foundation of 2 Frankdale, or the south property on 2 Frankdale that is proposed, that could considerably be an issue for their foundation over a period of time, as we are going to be we have nowhere to put the snow but against what is now the fence, but will be their foundation, and there will be runoff and drainage issues, as both George and Chihan have mentioned. Specifically to the variances and impact, this, from what we can tell, this contravenes the official policy plan 4.1.5 because in respect to reinforcing existing neighborhood character, as both parties prior to me have mentioned, these are individual homes instead of semi and multiplexes. Specific to lot coverage, it's a considerable increase. They're moving from 33% to 42.4%. Floor space index from 0.75 to 0.84. It's a 12% increase. The side yard setbacks, as I mentioned, this will be an issue in the laneway as we clear snow, and nobody wants to put snow directly on a foundation. So we would like to see an amendment for that. And it reduces separation. There's limits light and ventilation, and creates a tunneling effect in that laneway, which is used not only by us but other families on Milverton. As I want to stress, as George pointed out, these are not just garages that are facing the laneway. This laneway is used for sports, for kids' activities. We've even had Halloween parties back there, so it is used, and it does have significant impact. The building height is of concern as well, increased from 8.5 to 8.75, but it's that exterior main hall height that goes from 7 meters, which is, I believe, allowed. They're proposing 8.75. Which is a 25% increase. Now, as the proponent just mentioned earlier in this meeting, it's only going to be 8.47 meters, but that is still a 21% increase over the variance. So it is still considerable, and it is still objectionable on our part in terms of 166 Milverton. As per the side of the property coming right up to the property line, the front porch setback that needs to be 0.9 meters, that's going to 0.61 is an issue. And the rear deck, the rear second floor deck setback, the privacy and noise impacts from elevated decks overlooking the laneway and our properties is of considerable issues. So the variances altogether, all 8 variances, they fundamentally alter the allowable built form, and it's going to result in crowding, it's going to result in the loss of neighborhood character, and it risks setting the precedent for more out-of-character builds on both on Frankdale and on Milverton, which we don't want to see. And the concern is also the majority of the trees will be removed. but I know a lot of them aren't protected, and we currently vastly enjoy on a daily basis the urban forestry that is currently in place from a privacy and shade perspective, and don't want to see that altered. But yeah, that's overall what I have to say, as rushed as it is. And thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Panel, any questions? None? All right. Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Colin, you've been unmuted.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Name and address, please.
Colin MacDonald, 162 Milverton Boulevard.
All right. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to speak today. Apologies that I'm only able to join you over the phone. As stated, my name is Colin MacDonald. My wife Ashley Alborn and I are the homeowners of 162 Milverton Boulevard, directly south of 2 Frankdale Avenue. Our home is one of the many that you've heard from so far today, served by the private drive immediately abutting 2 Frankdale. It's owned by the homeowners on Milverton Boulevard and is the principal point of access to our homes. Throughout our years in this neighborhood, we have seen many houses transformed and properties reimagined. I want to emphasize that we've welcomed and been appreciative of each of these projects and their positive impact on our neighborhood. To some regret that we're unable to view these 2 developments being discussed today in the same way. Having reviewed the documents provided, and with the understanding that the role of this committee is to ensure reasonable, and I quote, flexibility in dealing with minor adjustments to zoning bylaw requirements, end quote, we're here today along with our neighbors to register our concerns and seek the remedies of this committee. In short, the 8 variances and the severance of this property are not minor, and any attempt to portray them as such is unfortunate. The changes contemplated through this development will have demonstrable and lasting impact. These changes will, 1, disrupt the existing character and feel of the neighborhood, contrary to Section 4.15 of the City of Toronto's official plan, and 2, reduce the quality of the natural environment and existing tree cover, contrary to numerous city policies and objectives. Specifically, we are concerned that the 2 structures being contemplated will, 1, have exterior walls fully 1.75 meters above the maximum allowable height, towering above neighboring properties, infringing on privacy, natural light, and sight lines. 2, cover 42.4% of the lot area, impacting drainage, natural environment, and stormwater management. 3, be built to 0.61 meters from the lot line. This is particularly concerning on the south side of the property where, as has been noted, the lot line abuts the private laneway utilized by neighbors. And 4, require the removal of a fence and a number of trees along the southern lot line, risking erosion into the private lane, which is at a lower grade than the lot in question, and again severely impacting the natural environment. In preparing to speak to this committee, participants are asked to consider several points related to requested variances. Briefly, I'd like to address each here. The first, is the variance requested minor? No, with 8 variances impacting on every aspect of the property and various elements of the neighborhood, these variances cannot be considered minor. 2, is the proposal desirable for the appropriate development of the land and or building? Unfortunately not. These buildings as proposed cannot be considered desirable or appropriate. Taken together, they represent a significant deviation from the neighborhood norm and the existing bylaw. 3, is the general intent and purpose of the city's zoning bylaw maintained? No, this development is almost entirely contrary to the intent and purpose of the bylaw. If the development was consistent with this intent, there would not need to be so many variances duplicated across the 2 contemplated developments. And 4, is the general intent and purpose of the city's official plan maintained? No. As mentioned earlier, these developments will absolutely have a negative impact on the character and feel of the neighborhood. Unfortunately, each of these issues require further consideration and meaningful consultation with the neighbors, none of which has been undertaken to date. Aside from the formalities of this committee hearing, we have had no outreach from nor interaction with the proponents. While I expect there are reasonable solutions to be found, and while we welcome redevelopment and rejuvenation of the neighborhood generally, and the property at 2 Frankdale specifically, without some engagement from the proponent, we are unable to support these variances and the request to sever. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to the committee.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, panel? See none. All right, we have one more speaker.
Rick, you've been unmuted.
Hi, this is Rick Brown. I reside at 170 Milverton, also south of 2 Frankdale. And I will probably sound like I'm echoing a lot of my neighbors' concerns. I would like to confirm that I do support the applicant's right to redevelop, yet respectfully ask for the application to be deferred or denied for revisions based on our community feedback. Like others before me, my main concerns are that the 8 variances in their aggregate are not minor and will dramatically change the neighborhood's character, reduce privacy, potentially create erosion and drainage issues, and could ultimately affect property values. Reinforcing the discussion of the need to remove trees along the south boundary, including one tree that should be protected by the City of Toronto, in addition to harming street aesthetics, wildlife, and privacy. I'm certain this is likely to cause drainage and erosion issues. I would prefer to see maintenance of the 0.9 meter standard side setback to alleviate some of these concerns, or at the very least, if this proposal is approved, some sort of formal landscaping plan to mitigate the risk of erosion and drainage issues. Probably an unintended consequence to the cumulative effects of the limited front yard space, higher lot coverage, and the proposal of 2 new front driveways. It's not clear to me what future homeowners will do with their snow other than push it onto Frankdale Avenue. This will reduce visibility, further narrow our one-way residential street, and overall reduce driver safety in the winter. I know that's perhaps outside of the committee, but it is an implication or certainly impact of the proposal. And I just wanted to raise that as a potential issue. And finally, while I'm not as technical on some of the bylaw rules and variances, I believe the applicant stated that the height variance was very minor and only applied to the parapet along the front facade and its return along a portion of the side facade. Perhaps the committee could clarify, because the applicant did not mention that variance 5, I believe, requires the height of all exterior main walls to be no taller than 7 meters, including 100% of the sidewall. So again, I'm not sure if the presentation of it being an extremely minor height variance is accurate, or if it is in fact in excess of 1.75 meters, which, as others have called out, is extremely out of character and will tower over the existing buildings. I really appreciate the time. Sorry I couldn't be there in person, and I look forward to hearing your decision. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Panel, any questions? All right, I think that's the end of our speakers. Maybe we'll have the agent back. So I'm going to be a little unconventional. One of the opponents indicated a series of conditions that you've agreed to. The other opponents are simply opposed to a whole bunch of things. So I'm going to cleave your time into 2 because I think I owe it to the one individual just to confirm your agreement to the conditions that you've agreed on. And once you've done that, I'll start the clock and you can have your 5-minute rebuttal for everyone else. Is that okay?
Yep, for sure.
Okay, so let's start with the conditions that you've agreed on with 6 Frankdale.
Yeah, we agreed to all these conditions mentioned.
You appreciate that the committee only has jurisdiction over some, so those that we don't have jurisdiction on, if the committee were to approve this, that is something you need to form an agreement with 6 Frankdale.
Yes.
Okay, you're prepared to do that?
Yes.
All right. Okay, sir, you have 5 minutes to rebut the concerns that we've heard.
Okay, so the concerns we heard were often not related directly to zoning, but one major point mentioned was the grading and drainage on the property. This will be addressed during the building permit process. The grading engineer will prepare a grading plan and make sure that all the city requirements are met. Otherwise, no building permit will be issued. Furthermore, as I mentioned before, regarding greenery and landscaping, we will maintain 3 of the 4 trees identified by the arborist, only 1 tree along the laneway, which is already in fair condition to the driveways on both sides of the tree, will be proposed to be removed. The removal for this tree would be necessary without the proposed side yard setback variance, because the tree is would be less than 2 feet from the house no matter what. Further, more concerns mentioned, or the last speaker mentioned the height again. The bylaw requires that the front and back wall of the building would be 7 meters on a length of 40% of these walls. So the difference between this and the proposed vertical wall to the front and back are marginal. The side wall is permitted to be at the full building height of 8.5 meters over the full length of the sidewall. Other issues mentioned were the privacy to the laneway. There are 2 kitchen windows proposed on the north side and 1 bedroom window right now. These windows, in my opinion, are from secondary rooms, and therefore don't propose a major privacy issue. The so-called second floor deck, if you look at the rear elevation, is close to the ground and does not provide much overlook, especially considering that our client will build a fence along the wall, along the southern property line. The mentioned objections to the proposed FSI and lot coverage, as well as side yard setback, basically all our variances. We researched the entire neighborhood and reviewed the past Committee of Adjustment position. To every variance proposed, there can be found various Committee of Adjustment decisions which support our suggestion that the variances are minor and are in the intent of the official plan as well as the zoning bylaw. I can give you these examples, but I believe they were already provided with my presentation material. One mentioning that, or 2 or 3 neighbors mentioned that semi-detached is what the neighborhood fabric is built from. There are multiple buildings or houses which are detached. For example, 6 FRANKDALE is a detached home. On the opposite side of the street, there are multiple detached homes. Throughout the neighborhood, detached homes is a permitted use by the bylaw. So as long as the lot width allows for it, detached homes will be developed in the neighborhood and are and will be further part of the fabric. I believe I covered all of the concerns.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Panel, questions? Yim?
Just a clarification. I like this. Just a clarification. Can the staff bring up on the package F1, the planning email, part 2? If you scroll down, it's F1, planning email correspondence, part 2, yeah. There's only 1 sentence on that correspondence. Yes, that one. I wonder whether this has been addressed and is outdated already. It's mentioned that there's a delete or elimination of variance 5.
The variance, or that email was produced after he submitted a set of revised plans.
Oh, so that one is not even including in the notice in our agenda
no.
already, right?
No,
okay,
that was
that's
before
what I
the
want
notice.
to clarify. That's only want to clarify. I thought that, there's a missing variance. Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Gary?
Just with respect to the exterior main walls, there had been a question about height there and whether the height of those walls included a parapet or not.
Yes, they include the parapet. The numbers in the notice include the parapet height.
It includes the parapet at that height. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you, sir. That's our questions. All right, let's go into committee. Anyone want to start us off? Phil?
I look at the plans and I understand the concerns of the neighbors, but I see a consent and in a proposal that is appropriate for a site like this in East York. It's an oversized lot. It's going to produce two 20-foot lots with two homes that are sort of in keeping with the types of rebuilt homes. If you kind of look up and down this street, there's a great variation of built forms along the street, including some that are true 3 stories. This is really two stories as has been said. So I find the proposal supportable. I think the conditions that we're able to impose to the benefit of the neighbor to the north make sense. I understand the concerns of the people with the private laneway and the difficulty about piling snow, but that's sort of beyond what I think the zoning on setback, I don't think is there to permit other people to pile snow within the setback owned by someone else. So I just don't see that as a consideration for us.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Peter?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I would agree with Phil. I think that the consent makes sense, that this lotting pattern and the massing on it, I think are good. I mean, there are changes to the neighborhood, and I understand how the neighbors to the south are going to experience their lane differently, but hopefully with time that vegetation, if removed, can grow back in. But I think that these two houses as proposed are quite restrained. I think they're in line with existing depths on this street, and the heights are reasonable too. I think this is Frankdale's a really interesting street with a really broad mix of housing typology, and I think these will fit right in.
Great, thanks. I just acknowledge, I mean, the majority of the opposition was from Milverton, and that's not surprising and not uncommon in the city of Toronto, where you have flanking streets that butt up against a development that's happening on the flanking street. And in this case, I look along Milverton, right around almost from east to west. All those houses on the north side have very short backyards. So it's not surprising that this is something that those residents are sharing concerns with in terms of the height and the impact on their vista coming out their back door particularly. But I think I'd agree with my colleagues that, on looking at the actual variances, the variances before us are really quite minor, and there isn't a variance for lot frontage in this case, and we often do see variances for lot frontage. So it's a sizable enough lot, I think, to accommodate a detached, and again, the variances in aggregate, I think, are overall minor, so I would agree with you. So Phil, do you want to lead us with a motion?
Sure, yes, happy to. And maybe the Secretary Treasurer can help me with the conditions if I get them wrong. But I would, can I do all 3 motions as one? So I would move to approve the consent and to approve the minor variance applications with respect to each of the newly formed sites, subject to the engineering conditions as listed in the standard for severance, subject to forestry condition 2 and 3 with respect to application B, and subject to forestry condition 3 with respect to application C.
Through you, Mr. Chair, and ECS also has some minor variance conditions that we can tie them to as well, under the
Okay.
minor variance applications.
Okay, to those, those are the ones that are in the report?
Yes.
So to those as well, and let's not forget, I do want to impose the condition of privacy screening on the rear north-facing platform to 1.5 meters on the northern of the 2 minor variance applications. I believe that's C.
Is it north or the south?
That's in addition to the,
No, this is the one that was requested by the neighbor. I believe
This
it's
is
to
for
the north.
for number 6?
Yes.
Okay. Have we captured all the ones that we were able to capture that was in our jurisdiction to satisfy number 6?
There also was the frosted glass.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to make sure. We should just
Yeah.
make sure we go through a bit of an inventory, make sure we got all the ones we can get.
Yeah.
Yes, so the rear deck screening,
The rear deck screening and frosted glass for the second-story windows facing in that direction as well, which I believe was north.
north facing, yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Were there any others that we could capture? Those were the 2 that we'd said.
Those were the only 2.
And also, there was a mention by the neighbors about paving. There's some paving that,
I think that's a more difficult one to
what is that?
satisfy. maybe.
I forgot what it was.
They wanted paving adjacent to the existing driveway.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think we can do that. We're going to have to just
I see.
hold the applicant to follow through with that, with the neighbor. Okay, so is that your motion, Phil?
That is my motion. I think that covers it, yeah.
Sorry, there was one other, the window wells, the metal on the window wells, or?
Oh, well, my concern with that is if it's an egress issue
Yeah.
under the building code, that might similarly be something
No,
that
what he
we're
was,
better not to impose.
what he was suggesting that.
Sorry, can you speak into?
Oh,
the
sorry.
microphone?
What I think the neighbor suggested, if you cannot impose the window well, which has got things that are sticking out above grade, he can go with the flush type of construction that he can still, it's not a tripping hazard. It's some kind of flush grill instead of a window well.
I think the preference was no window at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
And
preference.
Sabrina made the appropriate point that building code might require a window, right?
That's what I mean. So when they, if they still need the window,
But if
they
building,
suggest to have a flush type of detail. A covering, yeah, covering.
Yeah.
A grade,
I'd rather
better
not
grade.
impose.
Are we allowed to
that.
do that?
My concern is if building code does require a window, it might require it as
No,
an
I
egress
agree with-
window, and then how could the flush covering work, because it might no longer function?
No, I totally agree with you. I don't think we can, as a committee, can get that detail.
Oh, you're
Anyway,
just
yeah, I
making the
agree.
comment.
Yeah, I just clarify what they're
Yeah.
asking. But I do agree that that is too difficult for us to impose because it's like a construction detail.
Yeah, and let's allow the building code process to play out.
Yeah,
with that.
it might work in the end, but.
Yeah.
All right, I think, Sabrina, do you
Sorry,
have?
yes, so we have our consent conditions from ECS. ECS also imposed conditions for the minor variances. We have urban forestry number 2 and 3 for part 1, urban forestry number 3 for part 2, and then for just part 1, right? We would have the rear deck screening and the frosting on the second level windows.
On the north side. I think
On the
that's-
north
I
side.
think that's for part 2.
Sorry, part 2.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. And then no additional conditions for part 1 then?
Exactly.
Okay,
Want to add in like standard conditions of consent that would include like draft plans, et cetera?
No, that's automatic with every consent application.
Okay, let's just circle back, make sure.
It's good work.
Phil, are you okay with that motion?
Yes, that accurately.
Sabrina, and you're satisfied? You got everything you need? Okay, motion by Mr. Ghosh, seconded
It's good work.
by Mr. Reed. All in favor? Thank you very much. Well done, guys. Okay, you have your approval, sir. And do follow up with your neighbor about those conditions that we couldn't deal with. All right. Move to item number 18. 2271 to 2273 Bloor Street West. This is an application to obtain consent to sever the property into 2 lots and create various easements and rights of way. There are no variances associated with this application. The committee has before it a copy plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, copy of the draft R plan of survey, previous decision number affecting the subject property, supporting materials from the agent, and a presentation material from the agent. We have staff reports from engineering and from community planning.
Through the chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. It's David Nelligan. I'm a lawyer on behalf of the owner, King Edward Investments, Inc.
Okay, sir, you were here just a little while ago.
Just a couple weeks ago, sir.
And you're back, so maybe you could just take a moment to sort of give the panel a quick overview of what we have before us.
Yes, thank you, sir. And sorry, I was here on a different matter a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, no, I thought it was 2022 I was referring to.
Yes, this is an application for a consent that was approved by this committee back in 2022. Unfortunately, the consent lapsed following 2 years. The conditions of the consent were not completed in time, and we were required to come back to the committee to file an updated application. This application is identical to the application that was approved in 2022, and it's simply to undo a merger of the properties following their purchase in 2012, and to allow for a number of easements and rights of way to maintain operations of the buildings.
Okay. All right then. I think that satisfies my curiosity. Peter, you got a question?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just to make sure that you've seen the proposed conditions from development engineering regarding servicing.
Yes, I understand those to be their new standard conditions that they're applying on every consent, and we're content to apply those as well.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, sir. We'll take this into committee. This looks like it's just rubber stamping what was done before. Yes,
Yeah,
Peter?
thanks, Chair. I'm happy to. I think this is just a question of timing. But what's being asked for is very reasonable to permit the usage of two buildings. So I move approval of the application subject to the development engineering conditions.
All right. Motion by Mr. Reed, seconded by Mr. McKay. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you. Move on to item number 19. 111 Pacific Ave, 255 GLENLAKE, and 65 OAKMOUNT. This is a application to obtain consent to sever the property into 7 lots with a residential development and create various easements and rights of way. There are no variances to this. Just checking. All right. Committee has before a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, copy of draft plan of survey, landscape plan, 130 photographs of trees on the subject property, covering letter from the agent, an arborist report, presentation materials from the agent, and a site-specific zoning bylaw affecting the subject property. We have email correspondence from community planning and a staff report from engineering construction services. Office correspondence in opposition from several properties on GLENLAKE, OAKMOUNT, Pacific Avenue, form letters in opposition from Oakmount and Pacific Avenue, and correspondence in opposition from GLENLAKE Avenue and Oakmount. Several letters of opposition.
Through the chair, we have the agent and owner here in person and 3 registered speakers.
All right. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Name and address, please.
My name is Matthew Schuman. My address is 66 Wellington Street West, Suite 5300. I am a partner at McCarthy Tetra. We are solicitors to the applicant, Minto Properties, Inc.
All right, sir. As you can tell, we've got some people who have some thoughts on this application, so we'll need a presentation from you.
Thank you. So we did submit some slides to the committee, and I am also happy to answer your questions today. As mentioned, an owner representative is here and registered as well to answer any questions. So as mentioned, ECS has reviewed this and has proposed some conditions. The applicant is willing to accept those. No concerns or objections were raised by community planning or urban forestry. There are a number of letters that have been submitted, including by some residents. This is a existing rental apartment complex, and as well by some neighbors. I understand the owners have sent some clarifying information to concerned residents. Unfortunately, that only went out yesterday, but I am hopeful that that communication and my comments will provide some clarification. So in my respectful view, this is a technical consent for financing purposes. As you can see, the lands as they exist today are improved with an existing apartment community. They do comprise a single lot. This takes up most of the block south of GlenLake, east of Pacific, west of Oakmount. It does not extend all the way south to Bloor Street, but it does have 3 existing apartment buildings on it. You can see one fronts on GlenLake and the 2 slabbier buildings each front on Oakmount and Pacific. In 2022, the OLT did rezone this land to permit 2 additional towers, which you can see on the diagram, as well as a townhouse building. The approved development will include new outdoor amenity space and will provide a new public park. The park is shown in green there and will front on GlenLake. A site plan application has been submitted, and the owner has in fact received notice of approval conditions. So this development is approved. All we are doing today is creating new lots and associated easements. There would be 1 lot for each of the park and the existing and new buildings. The zoning standards do not need to change, which is why there are no variances in front of you. There's a provision in the zoning bylaw notwithstanding any severance, the zoning will continue to apply. As you have probably seen from the application, the list of proposed easements is rather extensive. That is in anticipation of the community operating as a single community and providing access to shared amenities. Just for context, the new buildings are anticipated to be rental buildings. The existing buildings, the owner has agreed to maintain those as rental. And just a bit of background on the zoning, there is provision of new affordable housing units, at least 36 of them. 10% will be 3 bedrooms, 30% will be 2 bedrooms. The owner has also agreed to provide new accessible washrooms and laundry rooms on the ground floor of each of the existing buildings. There will be a new indoor pool as the outdoor pool will be demolished. There will be new landscape improvements. And all of the reports, studies, plans were undertaken at the time of zoning for the infill and have been updated as part of the site plan. As I said, this is a technical consent. This is not the start of construction. There will obviously be a construction management plan in place through the site plan process, and the owner will coordinate with residents when they're ready to start that. It's my respectful submission that this application about these consents meets the requirements of the Planning Act, including having regard for the matters in Section 2, being consistent with the PPS as required by Section 3 sub 5, and having regard for the matters in Section 5124, and that no plan of subdivision is required. I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. Again, right on the mark. We do have some speakers, but I just wanted to clarify. A lot of the correspondence raised issues about congestion and mostly open space and access to amenity space and open space. Your site plan is proposing a park area to the north on GLENLAKE. Is that going to be privately owned public space, or are you ceding those lands to the city?
So on the diagram that was in the presentation, shown in green, that space is a public park, a city park.
That is city park right now?
Yeah.
Oh, it already is?
No, it will be a city park.
So you're ceding the land to the city?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. All right. Thank you, sir. Panel, any questions? We have some speakers lined up. All right. Oh, yes, you do. Phil, go ahead.
Yeah, just sort of an overall clarification. So, I understand the severance is needed partly to convey that park to the city because it needs to be severed from the rest. And then this is to put in place what's already happened at the OLT. But what's the rationale behind, given the number of easements, and you mentioned that it's meant to continue to function as one community, what's maybe the overall rationale for your client if they're all going to be rental towers, all as one community, wanting to have the severances?
So financing a piece of land this size with this many buildings on it for construction purposes gets very, very expensive very, very quickly. And so it is easier to finance the building separately. It would also facilitate phasing if phasing were required.
Yeah, so to attach the financing to the actual towers as they go up.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, sir. We'll hear from some of the speakers. Is there anyone in this room who wants to speak to this item? Ma'am, are you speaking to this item? Well, are you registered to speak, ma'am? Yeah, come on up then. Hi. No, is your red button on there?
Button? Okay.
Yeah, that's it. If I have your name and address, please.
I'm Valerie McLean. I'm at 103 GlenLake, 255 GlenLake Avenue. I'm a brand new resident there, so I felt I didn't get a chance to exercise my right or anything. I didn't know anything about this project until a month ago. So I'm a little uneasy about this whole project because when I first came into this building, I found out that there was an outdoor pool and a barbecue, and those are the value that I see. I'm from the Six Nations, so I prefer green space and a quiet space. I actually suffered a stroke before, so I seek a quiet retreat, a nice nice place to be around nature. So all of these things are being stripped from all of us. I think we're all feeling this is going to happen. They're talking about a plaza. They're talking about a playground. They're talking about a playground and a games room and all this. It sounds like it's great to have a community, but I don't know where these rooms will be and how it's going to affect the peace in my living space as well. So I don't know if there's where the playground will be positioned in the outdoor space. Right now, I'm still trying to seal the outdoor elements into my unit because there's gaps. But because of the heat in my unit, I'm having to go to the barbecue to cook all summer. And as soon as that quality of having a place to cook my meal in the barbecue, I will not be able to retreat from the heat of my unit. So that's also a quality that I'd like to see not be taken away. I know that there are barbecues being installed, but I don't think it's the same. We will not be able to convene with other residents. This is where I'm meeting new people there. I also noticed that there's a bunch of lots for driving, or lots for parking. And I don't actually have my own vehicle. I'm going to be feeling a huge vibration underneath me because I'm on the ground floor. So I'm concerned about that. And I don't know how that's going to affect the plumbing. I have no idea how that layout is going to affect the plumbing. I think there's already some issues with that. But also, I use the Cominato cars. It's already a concern. I can't get a car to get out of the city. I have to go to a different building because they don't have enough lots for that. So I'm questioning, in the new lot will be this certain amount of lots.
It sounds like you have a number of questions, and you need to talk to someone. You need to have someone explain what is happening as this development proceeds.
Yeah.
So we can't answer those today, but what I can do when the agent comes back is ask him maybe to provide a contact person for you to follow up with and maybe ask and get answers to those questions. Would that be okay?
Yeah, we do have a representative in our building which I can talk to.
Yeah, you can do that. But we'll also maybe get a contact for you if you want to call directly.
Yeah, that's great.
Is that okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. We have our next speaker.
Jason, you've been unmuted. Jason, are you there?
Hello?
Jason, can you hear us? Through the chair, I'm not sure if this is the speaker from 66 OAKMOUNT Road, but I've made multiple attempts to contact the resident, and I just unmuted this person by the name of Jay.
All right. And they're not...
Does not appear to be that.
All right, let's move on to the next speaker.
Natalia, you've been unmuted.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon. Name and address, please, ma'am.
My name is Natalia Barikina, and I reside at 268 GLENLAKE Avenue.
All right, ma'am, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Well, I would like to express my objection to the proposed severance and the resulting development, which I believe does not conform to several requirements of the official plan. In 2018, the City of Toronto completed the area-based character study of the High Park apartment neighborhood. And this study resulted in City Council adopting site and area-specific policy number 551 regarding this area. As a long-term resident of the area, I am concerned that the proposed severance and resulting development do not conform to the policy in the following ways. First of all, as per policy, future change and appropriate infill opportunities in the area will need to be sensitive and enhance the High Park apartment neighborhood area character. An addition of two tall buildings, I believe, will negatively impact the area's distinct character. The area's uniqueness is rooted in a tower in the park idea, a plan and vision based on design of residential buildings generously spaced apart within areas of tree-covered open space, thus respecting the balance between built form and landscaped areas. Proposed addition of the two tall buildings does not preserve and enhance the park-like setting, generous open space amenity, and soft landscape areas that contribute to the character of High Park neighborhood. The sites of the future proposed development currently include areas with mature trees, a community garden, and an open swimming pool. These lands are not underutilized. Rather, they are actively used by the residents as community spaces for much-needed refuge from heat in summer months, as evidenced by numerous objection letters and the speaker just before me. Removal of these spaces will negatively affect the quality of life and health of the community of which I am a part. I am also concerned as well with diminished access to sunlight, new shadows cast on open space areas, and an exacerbation of already existing neighborhood problems of traffic congestion and noise pollution. The density increase should not come at the expense of extensively used community green spaces and the benefits they provide for physical and mental health. The proposed development also lacks meaningful integration of community services and facilities. A new municipal park proposed for the street frontage of 245 GLENLAKE Avenue offers no additional benefit to the community. The already existing open landscape is being used by residents to walk their dogs and to socialize, so very much in the manner of a park. In addition, Lithuania Park, with excellent renovated amenities, is located across the street. In conclusion, I welcome responsible development and gentle intensification of the High Park apartment neighborhood area, grounded in principles of enhancing the natural and living environment for existing and future residents through construction of new, low, and mid-rise infill housing, while preserving trees and vegetation, introducing green infrastructure and traffic calming measures. However, Minto proposal needs to be evaluated in the context of similar large-scale development proposals currently in the works for the High Park apartment neighborhood area and the vicinity. Such proposals are damaging to the planning cohesiveness in environmental, community, and built form aspects. I welcome thoughtful revisions and scaling back of the current proposal. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, ma'am. Panel, any questions to the speaker? None?
No,
Oh, Phil, sorry, pardon me.
No, sir, sorry. So I hear your objections, but I just want to point out that the additional two towers, how they're designed, the layout of the space, this has all been approved previously at the Ontario Land Tribunal, and we have no power to change that. It is approved. So all we're doing is creating, or being asked to do, is create new lots, one for each tower. Do you have any issue with the creation of new lots, one for each tower?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for our speakers.
Through the chair, we have one more speaker.
All right. Hello.
Sorry, I'm just having some difficulties unmuting the speaker. MTS, we're going to try to contact you again. Through the chair, I'm just making one final attempt.
Okay, all right, we've tried several times to reach, is that the 266 GLENLAKE?
That's correct.
Yeah, so we've tried several times to reach and we're unable to, so we will have to move on. Let's bring the agent back up. Hello, sir. I'm not sure what you can respond to, but if you wanted to take a crack at responding to anything you've heard.
Yes, so I've just confirmed that the owner does have contact information for the first speaker, so.
Oh, good.
We'll be in
Did you
touch.
give that to her, or
Yes.
someone
Yeah,
will?
We'll be in touch to answer those questions.
That's great, thank you.
And just, I guess, for further clarification, if you look at the site today, there is a big north-south driveway and surface parking area between the buildings. Most of that will become usable open space for residents as the parking is consolidated underground. So if there are any other questions.
Yeah, okay. Panel, any questions?
Just a very quick question about the park. When is it going to be constructed? Is after the tower is being constructed? Or?
It is secured in
that
Section
agreement,
37 agreement to be completed concurrent with construction.
Concurrent, okay. All right, thank you. Yeah.
All right, let's take this into committee. I think Phil makes probably the most important point here is that we're not relitigating the actual application. We're just considering the facilitation for financing and phasing purposes. So does anyone either want to comment or maybe just make a motion?
I would just make a motion because really it's a technical procedure, almost right. So I will move to approve this application with no. Do we have any?
There's engineering.
The engineering yes, you have mentioned all the conditions, all the engineering conditions.
Okay. Motion by Ms. Chen to approve subject to engineering, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you. Okay. Thanks, Gary. Sabrina, Gary's going to head off. All right. What's that? All right, are we good? Okay. Item number 20 has been postponed, 9 and 15 Peyton Lane. We move on to item number 21, which is 435 Russell Hill Drive. This is an application to construct a new 3-story detached dwelling with a front porch, front below-grade integral garage, and a basement walkout. A rear ground floor terrace with stairs and a rear third-story balcony, a rear yard cabana, and a rear in-ground swimming pool. Committee has before it a copy of the minutes of the January 15th, 2025 public hearing and the materials submitted, copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, an arborist report, presentation materials from the agent, storm drainage review, revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations received August the 18th, email correspondence from the agent, Presentation materials from the agent received August 18th. You have a staff report from Urban Forestry and from Transportation Review. We have correspondence and opposition from 66 Hillholm. Okay, and do we have the agent?
Through the chair, we have the agent online and one speaker here in person.
All right. Mr. Bronskill.
Mr. Chair, David Bronskill, 333 Bay Street, Suite 3400, Toronto, Ontario, here as agent for the applicant.
All right, sir. You were here previously. You're back, and we have someone who wants to speak to this item, so we'll need a presentation, sir.
Okay, thank you. So if I can ask staff just to pull up our presentation materials, I think they're there at maybe E4, I'm not sure. Or whether that's the deferral, I'm not sure, but it's, I wanted just to start in terms of a couple of things that have changed since we were here with you last time through the deferral process. I don't know if staff are able to pull up our presentation. Thank you. So the two things, Mr. Chair, are first, there has been a reduction in both the length and depth. The new numbers, 24.11 for the length, 25.71 for the depth, they are on the public notice, so I don't officially need to revise anything, but I did want to flag for you, since the last public notice in the deferral, we have reduced the length and depth of the proposal. The second thing, Mr. Chair, is there is now an urban forestry memo in front of you with recommended conditions of approval, should you see fit to authorize the variances. So we've worked with urban forestry to ensure that they are not recommending a refusal, but are recommending conditions of approval. In terms of the application, if staff are able to go to the second page, as usual on these application materials, what we've shown to you here in color is in green, the existing house, in red, the permitted envelope, the proposal, 3 stories, staggered, as you can see, up through the roof, which I'll show you on the colored rendering. But I think importantly, designed to maintain the staggered front yard setbacks along Russell Hill. You can see that the 1-story addition that's on the south side, north is to the left, south is to the right. You can see the 1-story extension that is on the south side is no deeper than the existing dwelling to the south at 433. And then the staggered nature of the dwelling is such that the main 2-story portion is slightly behind 437, but that's in part because the front wall of the proposal is behind 437. I would suggest that the committee, should it see fit to approve the variances, tie us to the site plan to ensure that the length and depth are deployed as shown. If staff don't mind just turning to the next page, page 3, we've shown for you the different dimensions for each floor. So third floor, 18.48, second floor, 19.14. So not particularly deep in terms of a house. And then the ground floor and overall what's triggering both the length and depth at 24.63. The building depth is measured, and you can see it there on the left, from the front yard setback perpendicular to the back corner of the excavated deck and where it lines up with that 1st-story extension. That triggers the 25.71, but we would like to ensure that what we're showing in terms of both the staggered design through the 3rd floor and the 19.14 on the 2nd floor and the 18.84 on the 3rd floor, that we don't utilize the length and depth to extend those 2nd and 3rd floor any deeper into the backyard. We have in the package for the committee, pages 5, 6, and 7 included the usual numerical analysis for you. It's there to show that while we are proposing 86.2, you can see throughout the neighborhood a wide variety of densities approved in the 80s and up into the 90s and even over 100, just to show you that we're in the range. I'm not suggesting that because another site has a density with this number is why we should get it, but just to show you that we're not out of keeping with what's in the neighborhood. We've also shown some length and depths in the neighborhoods on the next 2 pages. Some of them are into the 30s. There's even a couple into the 40s. There's one at 51.87. Again, it's not to suggest that because there are these numbers being approved in the neighborhood that we should also be approved, but just to show you that length and depth variances of this nature certainly are not atypical in the community. Page 8, if staff don't mind, I can just show you what I mean by the staggered design. The 3rd floor is part of into the roof line. That in part triggers the height variances that are before you. I'll just speak to those really quickly in my last 30 seconds. The existing building actually has a height of 13.1. We're proposing 12.79 when 12 meters is permitted. There's also a main wall height variance, and that's frankly because of, and if staff don't mind, apologies, if you could just jump to back to page 4, you will see on the sides there, dormers, just to allow some light into that 3rd floor. The main wall height is measured to those dormers. Those dormers don't extend for all of the roof line. And so if the committee wanted to tie us to the elevations, we would have no objection, again, to ensure that those dormers are what are triggering the main wall height and that it's not extended beyond what's shown. So that's sort of the overview, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Panel, any questions?
Can we ask it now or we wait for the other speaker?
If it can wait.
Only to clarify, Mr. Bonskill, from the previous application, you have reduced the depth by about 5 meters. And I was looking, I compared the to previous site plan. How did you do it? Where do you get it done so you can reduce by almost 5 meters, right?
Yeah, some of it comes through reductions in the excavated portions that don't necessarily count as GFA. And so we wanted to ensure that numerically we were reducing the overall length and depth. And so there was some excavated area that extended beyond and deeper into the rear yard. We have pulled that back and then also done the stormwater drainage assessment that was filed because there had been some concern raised with that. So the length and depth was largely, frankly, below grade previously, and that's been significantly pulled back in terms of the extent of basement excavation.
Oh, if I understand you, it means that you just reduce your excavation area.
Yeah, the length and depth went much further. You can see that under the terrace that was previously proposed, there would have been excavation of staff. You can see it there. So it actually went underneath that terrace area and further back. So it frankly got close to the rear yard setback previously. So we have pulled back that so that it's not as deep into the rear yard. We think that improves overall the ability for stormwater penetration. So we do think it's meaningful to do that. It takes away some of that below grade structure in the backyard. The building remains, we think, appropriately designed to sit next to its neighbors.
Oh, so you pull back by 5 meters, right? Because it's hard to, because it's very complex, these drawings, right?
Yes.
I just cannot read it.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Could the speaker here in person come up to the podium?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. The name is Matthew Helfand, 181 Bay Street. Just before we start the time, so I understand, I apologize, what the committee has in front of it, because there were a number of objection letters prior to the deferral. So you mentioned just Hill Home, but I think there were actually probably 5 or 6 objection letters, including one that was filed. We have a number of individuals here as well who aren't going to be speaking. I'm on their behalf, but they had filed letters too, so I want to make sure that the committee has it.
The committee has in its package the material from the deferred package. There are what looks like 1, 2, 3 pieces of correspondence. Sabrina, is that correct? From the deferred package? 3 pieces of correspondence. So yes, we have read all the material, including the deferred package stuff.
I wasn't suggesting you hadn't.
No, I know. I just wanted to make sure you knew we saw that stuff.
For sure. Because I heard Hill Home and I know these individuals are here.
Understand.
I'm waiting and we can start the time, sorry.
All right.
I know it's been a long day, and so thank you for hearing our objections. I represent Jane and David Atkins. They're right here today. They've been living at their home for nearly 50 years, over 50 years. It's hard to believe, they look young, but it's been 53 years. And they're directly to the south of the subject property. It's important to note a characteristic about the interface between these two properties. My client's property is below, at a point on Russell Hill where there's a significant downward slope. And what that means is that there is a portion of my client's property, particularly as you go towards the back, where we are sitting at about 2 meters below the subject property. It's a very significant change in grade that will be felt by my client. So as far as all the surrounding neighbors, it's my client who's going to be most directly impacted by this because of where they sit. And they have significant concerns with the proposed variances. The primary variances that we have concern with are the wall height, density, and building length. And I heard Mr. Bronskill talk about the front wall variance, but that's actually not the variance he's seeking. He is seeking a sidewall variance. That's variance number 1. So I think he was mistaken. And we have significant concerns with that variance. The sidewall height, you can pull up the building and elevation, is where you see the 12.8-ish height. That's what's going to be felt by my client. And I think it's a little bit misleading, actually. And with respect to Mr. Bronskill, I understand why they showed it this way, but the one-story bump out at the existing property is actually, as it exists today, is a one-story with a solarium on top. If you look at what's in the south elevation, that is a significant departure from what is currently existing. Now, the bylaw permits 9.5 meters for sidewall heights. What's being proposed is 12.79 for 35% of the width of the sidewall, and then 10.05 meters for the remaining 65%. So there is not one portion of that sidewall that meets the bylaw requirement. Then if you consider the grade differential, which I said is as high as 2 meters, you now have a sidewall that's going to be perceived by my clients at close to 15 meters. If you consider for context that a residential, like a mid-rise building, has a standard story of 3 meters, they're going to be looking at a 5-story building. That's the context of that height. Thinking about the intent and purpose of the sidewall height bylaw requirement, it's to ensure that we don't have these sheer interfaces, so there's a canyon or a massive wall on adjacent properties, and I think this is really problematic. Not only does it exceed the height from the bylaw significantly, just on paper, how it's going to be felt in real life is going to be far more significant. And with respect to Mr. Bronskill, he didn't even address it. This is a very important variance, and it's going to be felt, and it's going to be compounded by the density and the length, but it's primarily that wall height that's going to be felt. Mr. Bronskill also showed his charts of variances, right, for the density and the length and the depth. Not a single variance for that sidewall height. Now, the committee is required to consider whether this is in keeping with the character of the neighborhood, and there's not one example, and that's the applicant's onus. Then keeping in mind that we have this 2-meter grade differential, that's where the impact comes in. So we think this is seriously problematic and hasn't been addressed in any of the revisions. 2 other concerns we want to raise: tree removal and heritage. What the committee will see is that urban forestry staff had initially proposed refusal of this. And they said there was going to be a refusal for 3 reasons: the length, the depth, and the density. The length and the depth have changed. The density has not. And I think urban forestry was right the first time and wrong the second time, because the density hasn't changed. There's still being trees that are proposed, 3 private trees that are proposed for removal, and 11 that are proposed to be injured. And these are healthy, mature trees. So if it was a problem then, I think it's still a problem now. All they've done is reduce a couple of the tree removals. It's still problematic, and urban forestry put before you that the committee has to consider OP policies related to protection, preservation, and enhancement of trees, and I think that's right, and I don't think that's being respected with this application. The final concern that I have is one that is going to be extremely unique for this application. We have in our objection letter from Airden Burles a heritage report that we submitted to the city. This was the home of John Napier Turner, Prime Minister of Canada, when he was the Prime Minister and when he was the Leader of the Opposition. This is the only Prime Minister who, while serving in 24 Sussex, actually owned a residence and lived in Toronto. That's the only one in history. And this application is proposing to demolish that history. Now, I recognize that this is not a designated or listed building, but The city official plan does recognize that heritage conservation is an evolving process, and you have the test of desirable. Is it desirable to demolish the house of the Prime Minister? I don't think it is. I really think this is a treasure for the neighborhood that needs to be protected. Plus, there's also significant architectural and design features. Thank you. We think this should be refused. We don't think it meets the 4 tests. Thank you.
Great, thank you, sir. I have just a couple of questions before we get back to the agent. You talked about, I think you said a 2-meter grade differential.
Yes, that's right.
Your client's property and the subject property. I'm just looking at street view, and which is a admittedly crude way of doing it, but it doesn't really appear that there. I mean, it looks like your client's house has a small grade, but then it just butts up to the applicant's house. So I just need an explanation.
Am I sure? Yes.
Huh?
Sorry, I didn't mean.
No, I just need to be. I need to understand what you mean by the grade, the 2 meter grade differential.
Certainly. Does this work right here? I don't think it works anymore. Okay.
That's old school, man.
Yeah, at the front of the property, it is relatively the same. That's probably because of the grading of the properties, how they've been.
It looked that way.
But when you move to the back, to the rear of the property, that's where you see the grade change. And as I've got the proof here, sir, is if you look at the architectural plans, the survey, you're at 170.4 Massel. We're at about midway through the property. It's 170.4 Massel. Sorry, meters above sea. That's a silly acronym. Meters above sea level. And then on our property, it's 168.34. That's straight 2 meters. That's at the highest point of the grade differential. As you go a little bit further back, it goes down to 1 meter. But mid-property, where we're going to see that big wall height, we're at 2 meters.
Okay. And mid-property, as you describe it, there is what looks like a 2.5-story structure there now, in terms of the existing building, right?
It's more so, sir. This is in our objection letter. I just pulled it out for you.
Okay.
It's a 1-story bump out with a glass solarium on top.
Okay, but so I will ask the agent, frankly, roughly the height differential between that existing structure and what's being proposed. I'm just trying to make a relative comparison to old versus new, if that's okay with you.
Certainly is, sir.
Okay, thanks very much.
But I can tell you to keep in mind, I think there's a big difference between the structure and then what's really a temporary glass solarium.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, thank you, sir. Any further questions? Phil, hold it. You can't go yet.
Sorry, Phil.
I did enjoy your point on the history of the home, but it's not a heritage designated home.
It's not a heritage designated home?
And the length of time that Prime Minister Turner was Prime Minister while living in this residence was?
He was Prime Minister for a very short period of time. That's true. He was the leader of the opposition. For several years before that. He was the finance minister when he was living at home. Big fighter against free trade at the time. That's topical again today. He was not our longest living prime minister, but he was Toronto's only prime minister who lived in a house in Toronto at the same time. And I think that matters.
I believe that's wrong. Sir Johnny MacDonald had a home in Toronto while prime minister, but
that was before.
I think we're veering out of the topic of the day, but you guys can debate that as a side motion later. Any further questions for?
A very quick question to clarify. Maybe the applicant can also clarify. At the side wall, both side wall, the north and south, with the 12.79 height. Right, it occur where it's only 35% of the wall, but it's where the dormer is, right? It's just where that dormer, the wall will be higher on the north. Yeah,
yes.
Elevation. Okay.
Yes.
And also, it is measured from the established grade.
That's right.
And then you are talking about because of the actual grade at that point is actually lower, so the wall itself is actually a little bit even higher than.
That's the point, because the established grade is at the front of the house. If the established grade was, or if the grade was measured from where the actual property was, we would be looking at a variance of 14.8 in wall height.
You think that it will increase almost 2 meters? Is it?
Yeah, yes, I do.
Oh, really? Eh? Okay, that's what my question. Okay, then I want to visualize it. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
All right, any further questions?
No.
None? All right, thank you. We'll have the agent back.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, sir, you've heard some concerns. I wonder if you could take some time to respond to them.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, and I think Ms. Chan picked up on my point, which I did address in my comments to you about the side wall height. I did flag for you it was the dormers on the side. I did show them to you on the elevation, and Ms. Chan has rightfully pointed out it's not a variance that applies to the entire side elevation. And the staff, perhaps, if we need to, we can pull up the plans and I can show you the side elevations. Mr. Helfand suggested to you it's a sheer wall for all of that side elevation. He's wrong, with due respect. It's that dormer. That's why I think you should tie it to the elevations. That triggers the side main wall height variance. Otherwise, to the underside of the soffits, and it's a sloped roof, it's about 9.6 meters. And that would otherwise be the main wall height, and it would basically comply. So when he suggests to you that it's a 5-story sheer wall up against his client's property, I don't think that's fair or accurate. It's those dormers on the side. And so you tie it to the elevations, and the main wall height variance that's being sought would secure those dormers, but wouldn't otherwise extend to a sheer wall. And that's why I took you to the rendering in the package, and we can look at any of the elevations you want to show you that there is a sloped roof on the side. So it's not a sheer wall. In terms of the grade change, I also think it's a little bit misleading as well, because where those dormers are located, if staff maybe can pull up the survey, where those dormers are located on the side, the survey has very clear data elevations. And Mr. Helfand took you to the back where the 1-story is at 170.4. If you look at the side property line next to his client's house and carport and driveway, you'll see 168.19, 168.32, and you'll see in front of his client's carport 168.11, 168.08. So where those dormers are roughly situated, the grade's almost actually the same. So what Mr. Helfand is really talking about is as you get into the backyard and his client's property falls away and my client's property does not, there is a grade change. But there isn't 2-story structure in that location. It's just the 1-story structure in that location. And just while you're on this survey, you can see that the measured top of his client's house for their 2-story dwelling, 178.25, 178.27. The existing roof on top of the garage for my clients is 179.75. It's a fairly significant 2-story structure over top of that area today, which we had outlined for you in green. So I think it's an exaggerated impact to suggest that there's not only a 2-story wall along that property line, but that it's going to be perceived somehow as a 5-story sheer wall. I don't think that's fair based on the materials or on the plans that are in front of you. Last 2 things I'll say, Mr. Chair, and then I'm happy to answer any questions. We work with urban forestry. There's no arborist report in front of you to contradict urban forestry. Urban forestry recommended refusal before. They are now recommending conditions of approval. And my client worked with them through the reductions in the building length to preserve more trees, and urban forestry is satisfied subject to their permitting process. And secondly, I'm not going to debate cultural history, but I will just say, Mr. Chair, the building is not listed or designated. Heritage staff would have the opportunity to do so through any type of process. That has not been done, and I don't think it would be appropriate now to use the Ontario Heritage Act otherwise to frustrate the application. You don't have any negative comments from Heritage or planning in respect of this application. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, sir. Panel, any questions of the agent? Phil?
You're aware of the transportation condition?
Yes, and we did, through you, Mr. Chair, there are submitted revised plans in response to remove, I think they'd asked to remove some paving from within the right-of-way, which we have done. And so we are aware of transportation services. That revision has been made, but we would certainly accept that condition as a result.
Okay. Phil, good?
Yep.
Anyone else? All right, thank you very much. We'll take this into committee.
Thank you.
Who wants to start us off? Phil or Peter? I'm sorry. Peter?
Sure, thanks, Chair. I'm a little bit conflicted on this application. Usually my concerns with these sorts of redevelopments, and they all look quite similar, is the length and the depth. But I do really appreciate that a significant amount has been removed from those measures, even though it's mostly below grade. But still, I was quite persuaded by the neighbor's representative in talking about the impact of the sidewall height, given the change in the grade. I think that does have a meaningful impact in terms of that interface between the neighbor's property, not necessarily right at the property line, but throughout their property, and having that new, larger massing closer to their property line at the front and the rear of their properties. To me, that's the most significant part of this application in terms of impact. And I don't think I can support the application because of variance 1.
Okay, thank you. Phil?
I think I would have more of a concern along the lines of my colleague, Mr. Reid, if it weren't for the fact that the existing roof is actually higher than the proposed roof. And I think I am convinced about the dormers being a way of sort of preserving, because the existing roof as well is a sloped roof and a slightly sharper angle. So in that sense, maybe the wall height is a little less impacting, but it peaks higher, and so I think it actually in reality will be a reasonably similar condition, albeit along a larger depth of that adjoining part of the property. I think, you know, in any other neighborhood, I think these variances would not be minor, but compared to the built context on this street and other streets near it, especially with the reduction of sort of the iceberg aspect at under the terrace, that was going to be pushed back further. The length and depth is less. I don't see the FSI as being out of keeping, and that's sort of my thought on the sidewall. So I think it actually is approvable with the, but I do think tying it to the site plan and to the elevations would be needed for that.
Okay, Yim?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was waiting to get someone to convince me to go one side or to the other side, because I was actually concerned about the sidewalls, but I haven't really heard anything that would support that will not create too much impact on neighbors. And also, I'm not too sure I agree that this kind of site will already grant them it's okay to have such a depth. I don't know where that will come from, because with the building length and building depth is exceeding almost by 7 meters, the length, and the depth is by about 6 meters, 6.7 meters. But that's almost like a house to other people's. And the other houses, I don't know, you have a site like this, you're allowed to have that kind of increase, still consider minor. So I do not consider this minor, so I won't support this.
Just if I could respond to your, I think this, one of my main issues with the side yard, the side wall height is the existing house bumps out to the north, right? And then there's a gap.
Yeah.
But that gap is going to be entirely filled with wall, right?
Yes,
So
yeah.
that distance is lessened, but
Yeah, no.
as always, I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything.
No,
Just trying to convince
I
myself.
just want to try to get some logic, and then
Yeah.
I just try to enforce, because as application like this, we can always look at it from both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
No, I don't disagree with the point. I think you're both right. Those are, depth is what it is, and Peter, you're definitely right. It will be more impactful than what's there. So it's a question of, is that impact minor or not, and that's kind of where the subjectivity comes in. I still think it is, but your point is certainly well taken.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Very agreeable here. All right, I'll look for a motion.
Okay. For the reasons I stated before, particularly around the sidewall height and the impacts on the southerly neighbor, I move that we refuse the application.
Okay, do I have a seconder?
I will second that.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? I will abstain to avoid creating a tie, so the application is refused. Okay, we move on to item number 22. And this is 666 Strathmore Boulevard. This is an application to construct a one and a half story ancillary building containing a laneway suite in the rear yard abutting the laneway. There will be a total of 2 residential dwelling units on this lot. The existing detached garage will be demolished. Committee has before it a copy of the minutes from the April 23rd public hearing, copy of plan and survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 9 photographs of the subject property. You have email correspondence from community planning and from urban forestry, staff report from transportation review, and from TTC. Okay, we have our agent.
Through the chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers. Austin, you've been unmuted.
Hello, my name is Austin Emino of 82 Formosa Drive in Richmond Hill, and I'm the agent for the owners.
Okay, sir. You have seen planning staff report that they're still recommending refusal?
Yes.
And you want to continue today?
Correct.
All right. Then we'll need a presentation then, sir.
Okay. Yep, so we're proposing to construct a 1.5-story laneway suite on the property. We did spend a substantial amount of time working with city zoning and planning staff during the zoning review process since September of 2024 to review and interpret the proposal in the best way possible due to the unique lot shape and zoning of our property. They had advised us to review it as a laneway suite, so I'm hoping committee could have a pragmatic review of this application, given that the laneway suite is behind a house that's always been a house on this property and will continue being a house for as far as we can see. The first 5 variances that we're requesting are based off the laneway suite bylaw itself, which I believe are minor in nature. For the one setback request from the lane of 0.76 meters, we saw that there's a transportation request to adjust it to 1 meter. So in that case, variance 2 would be removed as we would comply with that 1 meter setback. The other 6 variances requested are based off our property falling under the CR or commercial residential zoning bylaw. Although our law specifically and our immediate neighbors have always been for residential use as far as we can tell. We were requesting an FSI of 1.22, whereas 1 is the maximum. And this is due to the laneway suite counting towards FSI, whereas it would normally be excluded in the laneway suite bylaw. So if we were to reduce the setback per transportation's comments, this variance would reduce slightly to 1.21 or 147.8 square meters for variance 6. We did do some neighbor outreach back in April 2025, which was ahead of our original hearing date that we deferred until today. We did get a support letter from 10 Coleridge Avenue, which is across the lane from us. We also spoke with 1003 Woodbine Avenue, which kind of butts into the backyard of our lot. And they had no concerns once we explained the proposal to them. We didn't hear back from any other neighbors, so we don't think any neighbors have any concerns with our proposal. We did spend a lot of time trying to work with community planning staff as far back as November of 2024, and then spent about 2 months going back and forth with them since deferring our hearing. Where we kind of got with that is that planning was suggesting we do a rear addition to the house instead, but we felt like the variances that would create and the impact to the existing house would create a lot of issues on the lot, especially since there's a neighbor tree kind of right on the property line near the back of the existing house, which we don't want to disturb. So we kind of landed on sticking with the detached laneway suite structure, as we think it's better fits the context of the lot and allows us to not impact that neighbor's tree beside us. And I think we have the ability to create another housing unit in the city that, is right next to residential uses. So the other side of the lane is all zone residential, and there's actually the laneway house right across from us. We're just unfortunately zoned commercial residential on our side, but we're right across the lane is residential. I think, it makes sense to have housing here since we're close to the subway station, which is literally on Strathmore itself. So it's right across the street from us. And if Committee of Adjustment would approve this proposal, we're fine with the forestry and TTC conditions and transportation's request to increase the east setback from the lane to 1 meter, which would remove variance 2 and alter variance 6. We hope that due to the unique lot shape we're working with and the site context of our proposal, that committee would agree that the laneway suite is suitable for this lot. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. My colleagues may have some questions, but off the top, it would appear the only real impact would be on 668, the adjacent semi. Have you had any discussions with them?
So we did leave a letter at their house, but from the owners of 666, we understand that it's a house that's rented out. So the landlord themselves never reached out to us with any concerns.
And we've seen no correspondence in opposition from them, have we? No. No. All right, panel, any questions?
Oh, just one very quick question, just to confirm that all these variances have never been changed, right? It's the same variances we're looking at the last hearing, right?
Yes, so it's the same variances, but we would remove variance 2 regarding the setback from the lane and alter variance 6 to 1.21 instead of 1.22.
Oh, so you're removing those now?
Correct.
Oh.
Okay.
So for variance 6, then you're saying 1.21 times. What would that be in square meters? We just need the actual square meter number.
Yeah, it would be 147.80 square meters.
147.80?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Peter, you had a question, or is that it?
No, I just wanted to go over the changes to the actual variances, but I do have an additional question. It's rare that it's relatively rare that the committee goes against the recommendations coming out of planning. Did you have more recent conversations with them around their the problems they had with your proposal? Because of the letter they provide, it doesn't give very detailed reasons for why they're opposed to it.
Yeah, so kind of like since we deferred the hearing when we were discussing the proposal with planning staff, what we got from them was that, you know, from their perspective, a laneway suite's not permitted in the CR zone by right. So they basically stopped their review there and didn't look any further.
Okay, I understand that. Thanks.
Okay. Phil?
And so with the revisions that we discussed, I might have missed it, but you comply with the 1 meter that transportation services requires?
Correct. We'll adjust our proposal to comply with that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, sorry. So does that mean variance number 2 gets removed?
Yes.
Okay, and then you're only amending variance number 6?
Correct.
For a slightly higher, your notice?
Slightly lower.
Oh, sorry, 147.8 instead of 148.57.
Correct.
Still at 1.22 times.
It'd be 1.21 times.
Okay. And that's all the changes? So just those 2 variances?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? All right, let's take it into committee. I'm kind of like Peter. I can't really see any negative impact on this one, notwithstanding planning's recommendation. It's right next to a subway station. Frankly, we should have more density there. And it doesn't really negatively impact anyone's apartment in behind.
I think it's because it's not like a traditional commercial zone, right? Like I understand why planning might have issues with it on a main street or something like that, but this is a completely different context. Yeah. And I think the actual design is very sensitive, how they do that kind of half floor, split the height on the bedroom side and the kitchen. I think it's a very thoughtful proposal.
And also,
my concern would almost be the opposite, that there should be an assembly here to build something yet bigger. And that sort of is reflected in the transportation report, where it says, you know, if there were a block-wide assembly, they'd need a larger conveyance, but we have what we have before us.
I think also is if it's strictly commercial zone, then I think that maybe it's too much of a deviation. But this is a CR, means that both types that will happen in this zone, right? Residential and commercial. I do not think that is such a deviation that we'll have to just disallow it.
And you even wonder why it has CR on it, right? It seems
exactly.
strange to have it, but all right. I think we've got a consensus. Does someone want to move a motion?
I'd like to. I like this proposal. So,
It's the amended.
yeah, I think it's eminently supportable. I think it's a good design for the location, and I understand community planning's concerns, but I don't think this is a material impact in this area, particularly given commercial uses across the street, the apartment to the north, and residential uses surrounding. So I'm happy to move approval of the amended application. It's with variance 2 deleted and variance 6 changed, subject to urban forestry condition 2 and TTC conditions.
And we don't need the transportation conditions to remove the variance. Right. All right. Motion by Mr. Reed to approve, seconded by Ms. Chan. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you. Item number 23 is 27 Millicent Street. This is an application to alter the existing two-story detached dwelling by constructing a rear two-story addition with a ground floor covered deck, a green roof on the second level, and stairs, a complete third-story addition, and a front second-story deck. Also to construct a new two-story ancillary building containing a garage on the ground level and laneway suite on the second level in the rear yard abutting the laneway. There will be a total of 2 residential dwelling units on this lot, one within the main dwelling, and one within the ancillary building. The committee has before it copy of the minutes from the May 21st public hearing, copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of trees on the subject property, and a covering letter from the agent.
Through the chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers. The speaker from 29 Millicent could not be located.
Sorry, say again the minutes.
There was a registered speaker from 29 Millicent Street.
Yes.
But we couldn't locate that person through multiple attempts.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Goldman.
Committee, my name is Barry Goldman. Address is 321 Carlaw, Unit 203. I am the architect and agent for this application. I'm happy to make a presentation if the committee feels that's warranted, or simply answer any questions you may have, if you
I think
prefer.
probably the thing that the committee's interested in is what's changed since you were here previously.
Okay, so we did defer because I noticed zoning examiner, pardon me, missed one variance. So we came back with a 0 side yard variance on one of the sides. Currently, the side yard is 3 centimeters, and we'd like permission to build right to the side yard, really just to add another inch of insulation on the exterior of the building. That was the reason for deferral. The other change, and thank you to the committee previously, was we improved the landscape in the rear. The existing landscaping in the rear between the existing garage, it's shown dotted on that site plan, and the existing rear of the house, it's completely paved. So we've removed as much paving and installed as much softscape as we could while maintaining a pathway to the stairs up and stairs down. Those are all existing. So we are adding one variance, which is the 0 side yard setback, changing from 3 centimeters to 0. I'll point out that neighbor has no problem with it. And again, that's really just to remove the cladding, put an inch of insulation on it, and put the siding back on. It's imperceptible. And we did improve the rear soft landscaping.
Okay. Questions, panel? Phil?
So it's just building, it's using the existing garage and building over it.
The existing garage will be demolished. The footprint of the laneway suite will come a little closer to the house in the existing garage. There's a pergola existing. If you want to pull up the survey, we can maybe more clearly see the existing condition. So there's, it's labeled canopy. So in terms of massing, it won't really change. Our proposed laneway suite and ground floor garage at grade, pardon me, will line up with the existing canopy. So it's not really covering any more of the backyard. And as you can see, the entire backyard now is interlocking brick. So we're de-paving as much of that as possible.
If you are, you're still a little light on rear landscaping. If you're going to be rebuilding that walkway anyways, instead of interlocking, could you put permeable in?
We're, for better or worse, using those interchangeably. It can absolutely be permeable. Happy to make us bound by site plan. It should have said permeable. I apologize for the typo.
Oh, okay.
But I believe interlocking counts as, it won't be a continuous surface. Water will be able to get through it.
Yeah, just permeable pavers uses different material than interlocking, right? Interlocking typically uses sand in between the pavers, and permeable uses 1/4 inch gravel.
Okay.
Okay.
Happy to commit to permeable, however the committee wants to make that a condition of the decision, however you want to do that.
Okay. Panel, any other questions? No? All right, let's go into committee. Anyone want? Yim, you want to take this one?
Okay, sure. Yes, I think that although it seems like it's quite a few variances, but I think most of them are this site can actually accommodate them, and I do not think, although there's an opposition, but we cannot locate the oppositions or comment, but I do not think that it will create too much negative impact. So I will support this. Yeah.
Is that a motion?
Oh, okay. I will also put a motion to approve with the condition for permeable pavers. Where is the location of the
rear yard?
In the
rear yard walkway would be.
In the rear yard walkway will be constructed with permeable material. Yeah.
Okay. All right, motion to approve by Ms. Chan, second by Mr. Reed. All in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you. Next item is item 24, 3 Rosecliffe Avenue. This is an application to legalize and maintain the rear one-story addition abutting the west portion of the existing rear one-story east side addition, as well as the complete second-story addition. There will be a rear ground level deck with stairs. Also, to legalize and maintain the new one-story detached one-car garage in the rear yard. These additions have been constructed without an authorized building permit. Committee has before it a copy of the minutes from the July 16th public hearing. We have a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, correspondence from just correspondence of concern, pardon me, from 1925 Dufferin and from 8 Rosecliffe. We have correspondence in opposition from 284 Westmount. We have our agent with us.
Through the chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers.
Okay.
Hello.
Good afternoon, or good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Cesar Alarcón, and my address is 59 Lap Street.
All right. Sir, we're going to need, this is you're asking for legalization of some work that was done without the permit, so I think we'd need a short presentation to tell us what's going on.
Yes, the purpose of this application is to request 2 variants, one for the new 2-story back addition and another one for the newly constructed 1-story detached garage in the rear yard, both of which were built without a permit. According with the zoning review, there is 2 variants that we need to meet. The first one is the floor space index variance. This is for the addition. The zoning bylaw permits a maximum floor space index of 0.69. The proposed addition to the existing building will result in a floor space index of 0.77, representing a modest increase of 0.08. We believe this minor variance is justified as it will substantially enhance the livability of the dwelling by providing additional functional space while maintaining harmony with the surrounding neighborhood character. So we are not increasing any of the footprint of the existing house. The other one is related to the new garage. The rear yard landscape area, according to the zoning bylaw, requires a minimum 50% of some landscaping in the rear yard. With the addition of the detached garage, or property achieved 43% of some landscaping, resulting in a variance of 7%. We believe this minor deviation is inconsequential to the overall character and environmental quality of the neighborhood, and we respectfully request that the committee consider granting this variance. So this is my exposition.
Okay, sir, I didn't catch everything you said, but did you explain to the panel how this work was done without a building permit?
Yes, originally the homeowner got a permit for an interior renovation. That was the building permit that was given to the homeowner. After this, they decided to build the addition and also to build this garage without a permit.
All right.
Okay, can I?
And, yes, Yim.
Yes, I just, I understand what you said, but, you know, it is substantial amount of construction, though. From interior alteration, you're building the entire second floor addition. Is that addition that you consider to be renovation in the beginning, and then you go ahead, you went ahead and built it? Is that how it happened?
Yes, the homeowner decided to build that addition without a permit.
Yeah, we understand that. We're just struggling with how that actually happened, and frankly, how you found a contractor that would do that kind of work without a building permit.
It's my understanding that the homeowner is the one doing the construction.
The homeowner did the construction.
Yes.
Again, I think as Yim points out, that's a pretty substantial additional construction to do without a permit. There's no order to comply on this? There was an order to comply?
Yeah, it's in the
Through you, Mr.
deferred
Chair.
package.
Yes, it's in the deferred.
Oh, in deferred package.
And the wording is to legalize and to maintain.
All right, any other questions?
Oh, yeah, the other is to confirm that from the last deferral minute of the hearing, that because of the posting of the sign was not properly done, so I just want to confirm this time is properly done, right? You have posted the
Yes,
sign.
we have pictures.
Okay. Okay.
All right, any further questions? Don't know if we're going to get any better answers on this one. Let's take it into committee. Bill?
The variances themselves are minor when you look at it, the second floor addition, and on such a tight lot, it's not a very large soft landscaping variance either. I think we didn't get a very satisfactory answer about how this was built without a permit, because there is no satisfactory answer to be had. They just went ahead and did it. But in terms of what's before us, I think it's approvable, but certainly it's a case to put our wording that we don't condone this type of behavior.
I would agree. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you see small little additions off the back or enclose the front porch or something, but a full second story, you don't see that very often without a permit. All right, I guess we're not going to make them tear it down, so Phil, do you want to move a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve it, and with that, with our disapproval in the for the record.
Okay, motion by Mr. Ghosh to approve, seconded by Ms. Chan. All in favor? You have your approval, grudgingly, I'd say. All right, we move on to item number 25, our last item of today's agenda. This is 49 West Lynn Ave. This is an application to construct a new one-story ancillary building containing a garden suite with storage and bicycle parking in the rear yard of an existing two-story semi-detached dwelling. There will be a total of 2 residential dwelling units on this lot, one within the main dwelling and one within the ancillary building. Committee has before a copy of the minutes from the July 23rd public hearing, copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a staff report from Betralinks and from Urban Forestry.
Through the chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers.
Great. Good afternoon. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Vladimir Bulak. My address is 7 Dunbar Drive, Whitby.
Great. Thank you, sir. Hang on a second. Panel, this is pretty close to as of right as a garden suite. Does anyone need a presentation? I don't think, sir. We've read your application. We're familiar with the material. It seems a fairly straightforward project. We don't need a presentation today. Is there anything you'd like to share?
I do have a question though.
Yeah, we're going to go to questions. We may have questions. Is there anything you'd like to share with us before we do that?
No.
Okay. Yim?
If you looked at the staff report from the
Oh, my goodness, you're right.
yeah,
Staff are still refusing it.
yes, that's what I'm concerned. Can you speak to that? That's because staff is
Yes.
still recommending refusal. Yeah.
Yes. So our previous application was initially not for a garden suite, but just for an accessory structure with a similar form. The intent was to create something like a storage space and a little home office away from the detached from the home in the backyard. And a lot of the variances were related to that. As a garden suite, the requirements of the zoning bylaw are different. So that only leaves us the front platform area that is still on a variance that we need.
So is that this is an outdated staff report, or do you get to
Yes,
communicate with them that they can sort of address the current proposal, or they are okay with the current proposal?
I have not received any comment from the staff regarding the revised proposal, but with changing it to a garden suite, it does eliminate the variances that I believe that they were objecting to.
Okay.
Yeah, the July 15th email doesn't refer to a garden suite. It's just an ancillary structure, which at 5.33 meters would exceed the 4-meter bylaw restriction. So, okay. Any other questions? All right. Okay, we're in committee. Peter?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So I guess they found a workaround, and that's fine. I think that's why the system is the way it is. The only variance is the porch, and I think the porch makes this a nice and usable space, especially given this block and the very kind of open space that exists in the rear of all of these lots. I think there's enough room to take that porch. That's all we're talking about. So I move that we approve the application subject to Urban Forestry 2 and with the Metrolinx warning clause.
Okay, motion by Mr. Reid to approve. I have a seconder, Mr. Ghosh. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you. And that concludes today's agenda. We are adjourned at 6:18 p.m. Thank you all.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, members.
Thanks, everyone.
We're off, right? Everybody off.